Today, once again, I'd like to visit us as we look for the heartbeat of an organization. What's that pulse that gives a company or any organization its success, its growth? If you're like me, you'll go around and find everything that is wrong with an organization. And if there's someone in that group that thinks that they don't have any bad habits, we'll quickly go find them. Mr. Russ. I was asked last January to give a talk for my company. Just simply talk about the heartbeat of Ryan, our company. And I thought about it, and so the very first thing that come to my mind is, where is it? So I'll ask. I went through the office, and everyone I ran into, I said, so, where's the heartbeat of this company? And it was amazing how many different answers I got. They varied from, well, it's the mission statement. It's the values. It's our financial strength. It's our leader, CFO. It's our founder. It's the repair shop. That was mine. But the most common answer was, it's the people. So I kind of went with that. I said, well, that all sounds good. But I ask you, have you looked at very hard at where the heartbeat, where the pulse is in the organization you're involved with? It's rather difficult for me to find. After asking all these people, I reflect back on a time when I started my first business. I'd gone to college for 4.5 years. I didn't get a diploma, but they assured me that I was finished. And so I went out and started a business because I knew more than what they were going to try to teach me. And I found out how hard it is to grow a business from almost nothing into something that is producing a profit, first of all, growing, gaining employees, and I couldn't figure it out. And at one point I decided that it would just be best if I sold it. It was at a certain place that it was sellable, and I sold it. And after that I went to one of my suppliers, which was a German chainsaw company named Stihl. And in that job, I was a territory manager. I've heard it said that, if you don't do anything else, they'll make you a salesman with a really wide territory. Mine was the state of Kansas. And my job was to find growth potential in all of the dealer network that existed out there. And I built it up to where there was about 140 dealerships. Most of them were husband and wife, but some of them were larger companies like a John Deere dealership or something like that. And as I walked around, I kept wondering, what is it that makes a business work? It became an overriding obsession with me. Why is that one work? Why does that one not? What are they doing that they're not? And I was making these comparisons, and I really couldn't grab a hold of anything. And so when I'd go into a town, just take for example Great Bend, I would have 3 or 4 prospects, and maybe all 3 or 4 were interested in becoming a dealer for me, and I had to choose, never knowing exactly how it would work out. And so I became very, very interested in what that pulse is that makes a company work, not realizing that was what I was doing. But after doing that for several years, I began to get a sense when I walked in a business. If I'd been calling on them for a while, I could feel that they were going down. I could feel that there was something wrong just because of the relationship. But at the same time, I saw some that had that positive influence that was so hard for me to put my finger on. And I was just really mystified. And so as I think about this, and this is the 3rd time I've talked about it, coming at it from a different approach each time, I think about, well, where did I learn about pulse? Was it those years that I grew a garden and raised tomatoes and saw all of the work it took to nurture them from a little tiny plant into producing really nice looking tomatoes and then putting the garden away at the end of the year. There was a lot of lessons I learned about nurturing and all of the different things that had to work. You had to do the right thing all the time at the right time. A couple weekends ago, my wife and I like to go to concerts. Not the normal concerts, not rock bands or anything like that, but orchestra. And in the Northland, there's a couple really nice orchestras. And I was sitting there watching, taking it in, and there was some nice music, and watching all of the different players act out. And all of a sudden, I don't know if you've had this experience, but the music came through and gave me a sensation on the top of my head. And I told one of the players later at a get-together, I said, if as a mechanic, I can hear something and I can assure you that that particular tune by Bach was hitting on all cylinders. And I stood back and thought about it this last couple of weeks. And I look at the orchestra leader. Obviously he's the man putting all of the touches and directing the entire show. And how can you say that that isn't important? Last time I talked about the heart. And is that there's so many things that influence the heart. And that it's actually things on the periphery that help keep the flow going as well as the heart. So I'm watching this orchestra leader doing his fantastic work. And in the subtle background, I begin to hear the little tinkling of the bells. The little piccolo playing in the background. And I see clearly that it's just like everything is running together in this point in time. And I think that's a business. And it's magic. It's mystical. It's a spirit. So why can't I? Why am I having trouble? If I'm looking for a spirit, it's not something that you can see. And when one works, and when I became part of this organization, I began to feel it. And I began to feel the tug. Because it's a spirit that permeates everything, that raises my attitude and everybody else's attitude to a new altitude.